Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? Today we're going to be taking a look at another weird, I don't know if weird is the word I want to use for it, but another different take on a version of Mono Blue Spirits, and that's going to be Dimir Spirits. Now, this is a thing that we've explored in the past. Previously, we were playing cards like Lurrus, since that was still legal at the time, Hateful Eidolon, and then cards to go with Hateful Eidolon, like Deadweight out of the sideboard. This is basically Eli Kassis' take on what Mono Blue Spirits would look like if you actually got to play with a removal spell. So what he's done here is change up the mana base so that we're no longer trying to play Faceless Haven or Ascendant Spirit. Instead, we're just playing a bunch of the good Mono Blue cards. We got CO, Wanderer, Spectral Sailor, Supreme Phantom, y'all know the drill. But also, 4 copies of Fatal Push here, and I think those are going to be pretty decent against a lot of decks. Here we've also got 3 copies of Lofty Denial, 2 Spell Pierces, and of course all 4 Geistlight Snares. Another weirdo card here is going to be 2 copies of Ledger Shredder in the main. Now, in the world sideboard, this was a 4 of in the board, and I'll be honest, I said I hated it. That has not changed, but they're in the main deck here, which I think is a little more palatable now that we're trying to play cards like Fatal Push. I would like it even better if we were also playing cards like Thoughtseize, which can totally be dead in game 1, depending on the matchup you're facing against. But that's not in the list, so we're not going to play it for this version of it. We've also got 2 copies of Cemetery Illuminator, and this is a card I super love, even though it costs 3. These Brazen Borrowers were in the sideboard, but I brought them over to the main. We were playing 2 copies of Shacklegeist here in the place of these Brazen Borrowers. But I think with the Ledger Shredders and Fatal Push, Shacklegeist might not have the most prolific job right now in this format. I think the Ledger Shredders, if I do have to play them, I think I would play them in that 2-drop spot above Shacklegeist in this spot, since I've got Brazen Borrowers, Ledger Shredders, Fatal Pushes, all kinds of non-spirits cards. So in theory, it's probably going to be a little difficult to get Shacklegeist to play nicely with this configuration, so I've taken it out. And here we've got 12 blue-black dual lands. I'm counting Pathways as duals, 8 basic islands, and then 1 copy of Hollow Storm Giants. Now, I think this might be a list that I want exactly 1 more land in. But if we can get around to conniving with Ledger Shredders, maybe the land count won't feel that low. The other cool thing that we got out of black that was in Eli's list was a couple of copies of Extinction Event. Now, these are going to be primarily good against decks like green, which play Llanowar Elves, Old Growth Troll, Cavalier of Thorns, all kinds of crazy shit that's odd mana. But I also like the idea of it against things like humans. Why am I so itchy? Anyway, things like humans that like to stack up on 2-drops like Luminarch Aspirate and Thalia's Lieutenants, or a bunch of 1 and 3 drops like Brula Cathars and Hopeful Initiates and whatever the bodyguard is that protects its friends, Dauntless Bodyguard. So there's a lot of potential for Extinction Event to be pretty good. Also, this might be more relevant to actual Pioneer than it is to Explore, but I've chosen to put in some copies of Leyline of the Void, and this is going to be twofold, the same reason that we're already playing cards like Leyline of Combustion in the Worlds lists. First, it's an enchantment, which plays really nicely with Geistlight Snare, right? Like, you get 2 lands out, you have a Leyline, you get a Mausoleum Wanderer or a Spectral Sailor, and now you're immediately holding up Geistlight Snare. So that's already a huge bonus. But also, Leyline of the Void, unlike Leyline of Combustion, is both technically playable at 4 mana, and actually relevant in Pioneer. So I think Leyline of Combustion was always a bit of a meme, and again, I understand why it's there. It's great against Mayhem Devil, it's pretty good against things like Rakdos, but Leyline of the Void is actively lights out against decks like Phoenix and against decks like Greasefang. Since we're not playing Shacklegeist in this list and are playing Fatal Push, it might be a little more difficult than usual to play around Greasefang. But we've got the Cemetery Illuminators, we've got a bunch of counter spells, and now Leyline of the Void in the board. So that's going to be something that I think I like in that matchup. We've got a full 4 copies of Mystical Dispute because we do want to respect the mirrors. The secret is out, the cat's out of the bag, everybody knows the deck is good now. We've got 3 copies of Slip Out the Back, primarily with Rakdos' name all over them, but if we do end up catching some, like, I don't know, temporary lockdown, Leyline Binding, some Supreme Verdict nonsense, Slip Out the Back's going to feel really good there too. And then, of course, 3 copies of Aether Gust. So Green is starting to pick up a bit on Arena, but also we just suck against mono red decks, and this kind of handles both pretty nicely. It also doesn't hurt that this card's really good against those red-green mid-range piles that are just trying to play cards like Reckless Stormseeker and Asika's Chariot, stuff like that. We really just don't want to deal with any of that. So Aether Gust is going to be a pretty nice look. So that's going to be the list. We're going to play a few matches with this, see how we really like the black mana. Is it good? Does it suck? We'll find out. And I will see y'all in that first round. Okay, we get to be on a play against Yorion, and this is okay. Against the Yorion deck that I assume is blue-white control, I am going to be a pretty big fan of having like Spell Pierce into Lofty, and potentially help protect my copy of Cemetery Illuminator. Zeotor's Proving Ground tells me close to nothing, so I actually am going to just put this in tapped. I do assume that I'm not going to be looking at something like a Mana Dork or anything here. Whoa, okay. I will Spell Pierce that. I don't know how important having blue is to them. That's it. I just don't know how important having blue is to them. So I don't really want to mess around too much. There's no Teferi in this format, so I don't mind just playing this, and I would rather have access to an instant than an enchantment. So if the card on top of my deck after this draw step ends up being, ends up being like, say, I don't know, I can't think. Words are difficult, y'all. Curious Obsession is what I was trying to look for there. Then it would have been pretty nice to have it on top of the deck, do the thing, protect it with this. Yeah, I know how that goes from there. But it looks like, yeah, you got it. So now they have access to Leyline Binding. So I am still going to do this. If they removal spell me, I have Fatal Push, but they don't. And I also just don't have anything I want here. Oops. So now I gotta like really just kind of hope that this Lofty and stuff's good enough from there. I don't know, these seem pretty bad right now. I mean, obviously it would be a different story if I were playing against Absolutely Not. That card is scary. Alright, so we're still not going to walk into any kind of flash thing. That's fine by me. So now we get to end the turn. This Brazenbower's Petty Theft can go ahead and block here, or rather get rid of this and give me a 3/3, which is nice. And I still don't have anything that I want to Fatal Push. That actually doesn't do anything right now. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. Oh, we are going to try to removal spell me. No, we're not. Well, if you're not going to try to removal spell me, I will definitely use this to protect my Spectral Sailor when I put a CO on it. So here there is a Fatal Push. So that is one of the things that I was a little worried about them having access to. I think I want to let that slide. And now that something's given Revolt, I can do this. And I also want to borrow this. Yeah, because I don't want to give them this in their upkeep. So I think I do just want to do this. So now they can resolve the Scarab God again, which is, if I'm being honest, fairly miserable. But that's not really anything I can do too much about currently. Oh, well, that's false. Sick. So now I get to resolve this one and put the CO on the one that can attack for 3 here. And I'll be glad to draw a card. Hopefully it's some kind of counterspell, but I still want to deal with this. So that does it, actually. All right, cool. So I assume they can do this here in their upkeep. So that they can get the extra life and scry out of Scarab God 2. So this thing's going to get to be a zombie. They get to come back, get rid of this, or at least try to because I've got Rattle Chains. So all things considered, not that bad. All right, so there's your 4/4, targeting my friendo. Now I get to try to protect my friend. All right, it is protected. Hello, please leave my things alone. But you can have your 1 scry. Okay, that went to the bottom, okay. So I can also Fatal Push this, which is pretty big game. I omened to see, so we're preparing for Yorion. That's completely fine. Well, not completely fine, but I acknowledge that it's going to happen. That's more accurate. 2 on the bottom, huh? I will double block this. No? Okay. Let's just untap. So ooh, that's nice. What are we at? 11? So what's that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Damn. No, that's close. Oh, sick. Well, we take those. Granted, I was 1 short, but we take those anyway. So I want these things. I don't think I care about Aether Gust here. So I definitely do not want these Fatal Pushes here. I also think that I want to skip on... Yeah, I really just want to play mono blue against this style of deck. Like, the Fatal Pushes and removal spells and things are not bad. They're just not relevant here. I would rather just load up on 1,000,005 blue cards. And I know I just put in a bunch of Mystical Disputes against a deck that has, like, Urban Utopias and Skyclave Apparitions and things. But remember, we also just saw the Scarab God and an Enigmatic Incarnation. So there's plenty of reason to believe that any number of mystical disputes is probably going to be better than some number of lofty denials, and definitely better than like the Ledger Shredder that I already don't really plan on using this match. Because this match, I very much plan on being reactive to their big cards. So there's not really much of a reason for me to really do anything that even smells like black mana here, which is actually kind of a key point here too, because like this clear water pathway, words are difficult. I think I want everything to tap for blue, right? I just took out all of my black cards out of my deck. So slip out the back's actually not bad. So I'm going to simply do this, holding up the slip or the dispute, attack for my 1, and see if they want to come at me with, I don't know, something like an Oath of Kaya maybe that I can slip out the back profitably. Skyclave Apparition, that counts. I will slip that. So now I get to untap here. And I'm just going to do this. Attack you for 6, make you hold that, and then I get to come at you with a dispute. Assuming that my friends survive until next turn, I have Rattle Chains as well. So if this is not like exactly blue land, damn it. Please don't be Supreme Verdict. Oh, fires. That sucks too. Well, never mind. Now we're okay. I have 7 on board because I have Rattle Chains in hand. So hooray, and let's move on to the next round. Right, second verse, hopefully same as the first, and my hand's okay. So the downside to this type of hand, right, is that Ledger Shredder is not a spirit. So if I want to lead off with Ledger Shredder as my primary threat for CO, then I have to note that my Geistlight Snare is still going to cost 2, not 3, and oh, what the hell? And this is not protectable with Rattle Chains. So I'm still going to play it on the virtue of just being a 1-3 against Den of the Bugbear, but I don't know that I expect this to be my big thing. Oh, hey, yes, cast something else. Oh, wait, still casting something else. And, oh man, I was really hoping there. All right, well, I'm still going to CO this. So it's still going to be a 2-4. It's still going to be well out of reach. Ooh, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to get him. So what I can do here, because I already have an enchantment and Curious Obsession, I can put in Spectral Sailor and then Geistlight Snare something, triggering my Connive and getting them by surprise because I currently can't cast something for free. Or do I just want a Lofty Denial? No, I think I want to advance my draw steps. Since I have 4 mana currently, oh, hell yeah. All right, off it. Nice, we take those. So that was kind of cool. So I do want the Extinction Events here. I want the Aether Gusts here, and I kind of want Slips, but not really. I don't really want these, and I don't really want Lofties. Now, don't get me wrong. Lofty does not suck in this matchup at all, but I'm putting in Aether Gust, which is basically Lofty Denial Plus in this matchup, and it's the same number of counterspells. Taking out 3 Lofties for 3 Aether Gusts is, I think, a fairly strict upgrade to Aether Gust here. I do want my 1-3s here. I do want my bounce spells against Anax. And of course, 1 mana counterspells are pretty kick-ass. So I think I will just play like this, and I assume that my black cards are going to be pretty good in this matchup, since this is the kind of creature-based matchup that they're really for. Yeah, like, it's not perfect, but, like, this is pretty damn good. Kamano is actually going to feel pretty decent against a lot of things. So if they want to play, like, I don't know, a Swiss Spear, or Soulscar Mage, or even Karizev, which is optimal, please play Karizev. That's... Actually, you know what? Since it's a 2-2, they might be more tempted to attack. Maybe not. Oh my god, that's gonna go so well for me. Yeah, let's swing. So now the idea here is that they pop this to kill this, but joke's on them because I have a Spectral Sailor. So my Spectral Sailor is gonna get to make this a 2-2. And I'm just gonna get to, you know, do the thing. All right, so now that we've tapped, let's go ahead and do this. And I will take the 2 from this. I guess I'm sad if they come at me with like an Anax afterwards. Yeah. So I don't know that that wasn't a mistake, but oh well. You got it, opponent. A Geistlight Snare is not bad. Oh, I guess I should have just done this first, but whatever. I'll just hold up a Geistlight Snare. I could have gotten rid of this first with Aether Gust, but is there a reason you can't be countered? What was that little animation? No, whatever. Pay 3. I thought there was like a little animation there that I was missing. Guess not. Rattle Chains is actively very good with my Aether Gust. Now I've got 4 mana for both of these things, and I would really love it if they tried to point a spell at one of these now that I have that. I will count that. So I'm gonna do this now, before they can sacrifice this for another token's worth of value. So they are going to put that back on top, which is fine by me. They can attack here. They can try to pop this. I hope they try to pop this. Obviously, I've got to rattle chains. Hell yeah, they do. Sick. So now this is going to work either way. Because it's going to get a point of toughness and I'm going to be able to give something hexproof. So I'm going to give this hexproof though. I don't think it actually matters much, but let's see what happens. Bone Crusher Giant targeting the Spectral Sailor. Well, shit. And I've only got 1 power here because they did it in response to the trigger. So that's going to happen. Boo hiss. Not blocking that. Island, not what I wanted. And I don't know what this is going to bluff here against them because they're just going to press buttons. But I at least wanted to give, oh, hi. Yeah, that's nice. Take 6, go to 6. 1 turn clock unless you can kill me, go. So don't kill any of my things. Just attack with this and play this and don't do anything else. Okay. I like that. And I like that. Good game. Sick. So yeah, let's play one more round with this. Okay. Now we are playing against Kahira, which tells me blue-white control. I don't think any other deck in the format plays Kahira, but now I'm instantly wrong. We're playing against some Risen Reef nonsense. Well, that's going to get difficult. Risen Reef nonsense. Let's go. Okay. So I think I just want to lead off with Ledger Shredder rather than a Supreme Phantom. I very much assume that my Cemetery Illuminator has almost no text in this kind of matchup, especially since I don't actually want to tap out for 3 mana against what I assume is going to be some Risen Reef combo Grinning Ingus nonsense soon. And that's basically telling me, yeah. Growth Spiral, get a land, you can still play Risen Reef off of that. Never mind, because it's not blue, and we're buying Kahira. Okay, so a little bit sad times that they didn't just give me the chance to go ahead and play some kind of 1-drop here. Like, a CO would have been super nice, right? Because I could still have held up 2 mana for this, or like one of these things. But I just really assume that's going to effectively not be a card. So what's optimal here? You just play Kahira and do nothing else? I don't think that's likely, though. I do want, like, 1 more counterspell so that Geistlight Snare isn't so lonely. Excuse me. I suppose a Fatal Push here could have been okay, too. Meh. Whatever, we'll see what happens. Escape to the Wild. Get that shit out of my face. Oh, hey! Well, we did ask. And I suppose we're about to receive. So let's see if I can manage to pull me a counter spell. I can't. Okay. Cast Connive. Dang. I was gonna say and still try to pull me a counter spell, I guess. Yeah. So I guess I get to be medium upset that I didn't draw 1 piece of interaction. A Spell Pierce would have been nice. A Geistlight Snare would have been best, but I get to untap with Lords / Rattle Chain, so like that's pretty good. And if this untaps somehow, then I also get to just draw another card off the attack. So all isn't lost, but my opponent with 6 mana and a small fistful of cards is still pretty scary. Like that's gonna make a 5/5 with reach. I don't want to deal with that. Like that's huge. So what can I do? I can Supreme Phantom, loot away a Rattle Chains. That's gonna be a 4/6. That's a 3/5. And I can now put the CO on this, make it a 4/6. So that gives me the ability to attack 1 at Ren and 1 at face. Neither dies to the tree token here. So at least I get to draw the card here. Not helpful, but a card is a card, right? Well, shit, that was pretty good for them. +3 lands off of the Ren activation. Oh, that's kind of cool. This thing will get Vigilance, too. No, it's not an elemental. It's just a tree folk. Never mind. They don't get to do all of the cool things. Or any of them. Sick. Yeah, we hella take those. All right, so things I want. Aether Gust against the green-red deck. I don't particularly want Fatal Push, even though we saw Florahedron. I definitely assume that's the only mana dork in their entire list. Cemetery Illuminator is basically not a card in this type of matchup. And things I do. Do I want Mystical Disputes against what is likely Risen Reef stuff? Or do I want Slip Out the Back against likely Weeper spells? And I think the answer is actually both. Yeah, I think once again, I just want to be mono blue here. Brazen Bower seems okay. It's pretty bad against everything that's not named Ren and 7 Treefolk token, but I do really like it there. And this list isn't playing Shacklegeist, so that's going to be my only removal that was not named Fatal Push previously for those big-ass tokens. So I think I like the Brazen Bowers. I don't really know that we need to touch too much else. And this hand's not bad. All right. So once again, just noting as we start our games that all of our mana this game can just be blue. I do not need to think about black mana for a single reason this game. There's your elemental. Okay, Trixie time. So here I get to play this Mausoleum Wanderer, and then if they have some kind of spell here, this Mausoleum Wanderer can protect this one. So that's why I want to always sequence like that and make sure I have as many layers of protection as I can. If I had just tried to hold out Slip Out the Back and they had a removal spell for this, then I would have fizzled my own Curious Obsession and not gotten to attack. So that's actually a pretty big freaking difference. So let's see what this 3 mana is here. There's the Risen Reef we talked about previously, but I tapped. Oh, this is good. So I tapped out, so I'm not going to be able to play either of those, or rather do anything to this. Oh, well, that's false. Yeah, go. So one thing I can do, depending on what they play, if they play some kind of elemental that I don't care about, then I can probably just counter and call that shit a day. But I care a lot about that. So let's get that out of my face. And let's get that out of my face. And now let's draw a Mystical Dispute. Spell Pierce. Not quite a dispute, but also not that far off. So good job, deck. So here, if they have another Omnath, I don't mind using my other Geistlight Snare on that, like that. And if they don't play anything of import here, I can just Brazen Borrower and attack for 6. I like that. And that counts as nothing of import, so let's untap. A Supreme Phantom. We're looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's not 11. Fuck it, your problem. Remember, I've got the Slip Out the Back too, so like, even if I do have to fade like, oh, that's good. Fade like a Supreme Verdict or something, I still have Slip Out the Back, Spell Pierce, and a Flash Spectral Sailor with them at 1. So that actually doesn't help you, opponent. It is good, but it's not helpful. Yeah. So that's going to be all us. Good job to the deck. We went 3-0 today. And yeah, let's check out our little changes here. Yo, so this list, now that we've played 3 matches with it, I think it's fine. Like, I clearly had some matchups where I just really didn't want the Fatal Push. And that's going to happen sometimes, even when you're playing something like, say, Rakdos, that always wants 4 Fatal Push in the main, right? Like, the entire point of cards like that is that when they're good, they're fantastic. Kind of like, you know, against the red deck that we just played against. And when they're bad, they're, like, so bad that you just cannot keep them in games 2 and 3. And I think that it just is a net result of, like, fine. I don't even know that I necessarily like this better than regular mono blue, because we of course did trade out 2 to 3 copies of Faceless Haven for a copy of Hall of Storm Giants and basically the right to play cards like Fatal Push in the main. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't know that that's like a good or a fair trade for us. I think it's just like a little medium, if you ask me, really. Like, it's just okay. I do, however, really love the idea of Leyline and Avoid here. Because unlike the Leyline and Combustion, there are some matchups where Leyline and Avoid is just like absolutely batshit lights out, and it's just the best thing to be doing, right? Like, if you're playing against Phoenix in blue and red, unless you finally catch the, I don't know, the Phoenix opponent that's still playing Brazen Borrower, then they can just like never get out of Leyline and Avoid, which means their Treasure Cruises always cost 7, which means their Temporal Trespasses always kind of cost like 106, however much mana those things cost naturally. I think it's like 11. They can't really do anything with Phoenix itself unless they're casting it for 4. Galvanic Iteration doesn't really have a flashback mode. So like Leyline and Avoid shuts out a lot against the Phoenix deck, and then accidentally turning your Geistlight Snare on a turn earlier is super nice, especially when you're trying to play around cards like Pieces of the Puzzle that the opponent really just wants to resolve on curve, do their thing, and then basically try to dig their way out of not having a graveyard. So I actively like the Leyline and Avoid. And the Extinction event, if I'm being completely honest, I don't hate it. Like, I don't know that I love it, but I think that is a socially acceptable sweeper in most situations, right? Like, personally, the card that I was playing when I was playing Dimir was Crippling Fear. It's 2 and 2 black. You name a tribe. Things that are not that tribe get -3s, but in a list like this, that gives you 2 problems. First, the mana. Double black is kind of difficult to guarantee on turn 4. And you don't really want to do things like playing, you know, Underground River instead of more islands, when the primary reason you're playing black mana is to play removal, so you ideally don't want to be taking life points in that matchup. So playing pain lands into those matchups seems like a bit of a non-bow, and I do like that this list recognizes that. Also, Extinction Event is kind of mid sometimes because like we have 1s, 2s, and 3s, all of which are relatively important to our plan. So I don't know that it's really worth your time to play a card like Extinction Event when it can end up bodying you too. For example, say you're playing against humans, right? And your opponent's just like, I don't know, turn 1 Training Initiate, turn 2 double 1 drop, turn 3 Adeline, and you're pretty happy to Extinction Event those things. But remember, in that same scenario, you're probably going like Mausoleum Wanderer, Spectral Sailor, like Brazen Bower, try to put a Curious Obsession on something. And that all leads to you potentially botting yourself just as much as you're botting your opponent when you're already trying to catch up in most of these matchups. So is Extinction Event the exact kind of card that I like? Not really, but I understand the need to have more removal. Now, if I were to play a card like this in black to give myself more removal against these aggressive decks, I think I would lean one of two ways. So the first card I'm thinking is just super simple, Cut Down. It's basically Fatal Pushes number 5 and 6. You just destroy a target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less, which means it can kill an Adeline if she doesn't have any friends because she's a 1/4. It can kill Thalia or her lieutenant at base. It can kill a 2/3, so Training Initiate even after a single pump is fine. And again, it only costs 1 mana for an instant. So it's nice against things like Llanowar Elves, Ledger Shredders that have not connived yet. Arclight Phoenix is a 3/2, which adds up to 5. Thing in the Ice and Pioneer is a 0/4 until it flips. So there's a lot of potential targets for Cut Down. And I think that playing these over the Extinction Events might actually be more worth our time. The other thing that I think I would probably consider in this spot is Parasitic Grasp. And this is a card that I've kind of liked for a while, especially since the premier aggro deck in Pioneer happens to be humans. So without its cleave cost, you can pay 1 in double black to target any creature you gain 3 life and it does 3 damage, right? But you only have to pay 2 mana if that card's a human, which means that you're already wanting to play a card like this against the deck in the format that is the premier aggro deck. So the fact that you don't have to pay 3, you're just paying 2 for a Lightning Helix on a human, well, that's already what you want to be doing most of the time, right? And I do think the extra mana is worth the 3 life in a matchup that you're likely to be finding yourself racing in anyway. And of note, 3 damage happens to be exactly enough to get rid of the 4/3 Grease Fang, so that's always nice. And then if you wanted to consider something else, like, I don't know, say Infernal Grasp, Heartless Act, Power Word Kill, there's a lot of options available as soon as you start splashing into black. So those are totally worth considering, but I think Cut Down and Parasitic Grasp are where I would choose to live right now, given the state of this format in Pioneer. And then the Leyline and the Void, I would just straight up keep this. Like, I love this. Like, this is working for me. I like this. And if I'm being completely honest with y'all, I've got a 1K that I might play this weekend. I don't know whether I honestly feel like getting out of bed Saturday morning to do it or not, but if I do, I might just not try to play the Fatal Pushes and the Extinction Events, but the Leyline and the Voids might come with me. So if you find me playing like a mono blue list this weekend that just happens to have Leyline and the Voids in, then, well, you know where that inspiration came from. But that's going to be it for today's video. Lots of rambling, lots of fun gameplay. And also, I've missed y'all. It's been a while. And if I'm being real, I haven't really wanted to play Magic like that, but I did see this list. It piqued my interest, so I decided to give it a go and see if I liked it. And the end result is, it's fine. That's it. It's fine. But I think these are going to come with me this weekend, so I'm going to try that. But that's going to be it for today. As always, if you like what you're watching, make sure to click like on a video. Let me know. Sub to the channel if you're new, and I'll see y'all on the next one.